What if events went differently? And Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4 introduced not a classic villain from the comic books, but something far more haunting. Death himself. Welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, to another brand new episode. My name is Max Charlebois, aka MissedThePart, and today we're diving into one of the most chilling cinematic what-ifs we've ever done. In this timeline, the long-awaited Spider-Man 4 doesn't feature Vulture or Mysterio. It introduces Death from Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, as the main antagonist. After years of loss, guilt, and close calls, Peter Parker finds himself stalked by a terrifying presence. Not a man, not a monster, but the literal embodiment of death, hunting him through nightmares, memories, and the empty corners of New York City. With Raimi's signature horror style and the blend with Spider-Man's emotional journey in a way that we've never seen before, this isn't just about saving the city anymore. It's about escaping fate itself. And we owe this epic crossover concept to Mike S., one of our fantastic watchers of the multiverse. Huge shout out to Mike for not only requesting this unique what if, but for pushing the boundaries of what a multiverse story can be. Thank you for your support and for the help. It really makes this possible. If you want to help shape future videos just like Mike, don't forget you can become a YouTube member or join us on Patreon. Members get behind-the-scenes content, early previews, and the ability to submit your own what-if ideas that will become full episodes here on the channel. So if you would like to co-write with me, I would love to help you build a story, and we can write it together. And this community is where the multiverse truly expands. So that being said, let's descend into the shadows of Raimi's Spider-Verse and ask the ultimate question. What if Death was the main villain in Spider-Man 4? The world hadn't ended, it just felt like it had. The city still moved, always moved. Taxis still screamed past stop signs. Kids still played in the streets. The Daily Bugle still printed nonsense about Spider-Man being a menace. New Yorkers, as always, were too stubborn to care what nearly tore them apart last year. But Peter Parker wasn't stubborn anymore. He sat alone in his apartment, dim, cluttered, lived in. MJ's scarf was draped over the chair. Her lipstick still marked the edge of a coffee mug. She had moved back in weeks ago, but Peter rarely looked her in the eyes. Outside, Spider-Man still swung between buildings, still fought crime, still stopped the mugger in the alley and saved the falling construction worker from the scaffold. No sharp quips or smirking one-liners, just silence, just routine. He didn't swing for fun anymore. He patrolled. He didn't smile for kids on the corner anymore. He barely looked at them. He didn't call Harry's name when he passed the Osborn building anymore. He just looked down. He'd started walking more. Aunt May visited that morning. She brought apple pie and a folded clipping from the paper. Peter didn't smile when he opened the door. She set it down, hugged him, and sat on the couch. She spoke in soft tones, like she was worried. Any word too sharp might cut him deeper. Do you remember what I told you after Ben passed? Peter stared at his hands. You said I had to find a way to forgive myself. Yes, the hardest thing. And you did, Peter. You became something good, something strong. He shook his head. That was before. That was before I wore that thing. Before Harry died. Before MJ left me. May reached across the table and placed a hand on his. You've come back. She's here. You're still here. He didn't respond. Then maybe it's not about forgiving yourself yet. May said. Maybe it's just about looking. Forward, not backward. He finally looked up. His eyes were heavy. Not yet. May smiled soft and sad. She stood to leave. I'm always here, Peter. I'll wait for you to catch up. Later that night, MJ curled beside him on the couch. A black and white movie played on the TV. The sound down low. She watched him more than the film. I missed this, she said. Me too. You don't sound like it. He turned his face toward her. Something behind his eyes, grief, yes, but deeper. Disconnection. I'm here, MJ, I promise. She held his hand. Then come back to me. He squeezed her fingers gently, but didn't say anything else. The next morning, Spider-Man stopped a robbery at a convenience store in Queens. The store owner thanked him. The kid with the Spidey backpack waved at him. He nodded once and disappeared into the alley. He didn't swing home. He walked. That night, something new came. A sound. A whistle, faint, melodic, old. It passed through Peter's senses like a cold wind. His spider sense didn't just tingle, it screamed. He turned, suit half-zipped, standing on a rooftop near Flatbush. He saw nothing, but he felt it. The hairs on his neck stood up, his lungs seized. And then, in the alley below, something moved. A shape. A tall, dark silhouette with glinting silver at its side. The wind howled. The whistle echoed again, closer now. It wasn't playful, it wasn't loud. It was final. Peter swung down without thinking. He landed in the alley, crouched, ready. But the figure was already standing still. A wolf, cloaked, humanoid, eyes like silver fire, a scythe slung across his back. Peter blinked. Who are you? The creature tilted its head. It didn't speak. Instead, it held something up. A crumpled drawing of Spider-Man colored in crayon. A child's drawing, with a large, jagged X carved over the face. Peter stepped back. You're not from here. The figure took a step forward. Then another. The alley grew darker with every footfall. The walls began to tremble. The shadows warped. Peter's hand darted for his web shooter. But the wolf was already there. A strike, lightning fast. The scythe missed Peter by inches. He ducked, rolled, and fired a web at the fire escape. He tried to swing away, but his body was slower than usual. He felt it in his bones, a weight, a drag, like something was pulling him down. The figure slashed again, clipping Peter's shoulder. Blood hit the bricks. Peter barely escaped, crashing through a billboard and landing on the adjacent rooftop, panting. The figure didn't follow. It just whistled again and vanished. Back at home, Peter bandaged the wound himself. He didn't tell MJ. He stared at the mirror for a long time. Not at the wound, at his face. How hollow it looked, how tired. You're falling apart, he whispered to himself. And outside on the roof across the street, Death watched, still, silent, waiting. The cut on his shoulder didn't heal like the others. Peter noticed it days later, still red, still sore, the edges slightly dark. Spider-Man's body usually bounced back from worse. Bruises faded fast, scabs vanished in hours. But this lingered. He didn't tell MJ, he didn't tell May, he didn't tell anyone, and instead he kept swinging, because he was Spider-Man. Because that's what he does. But the rhythm was gone. He clung to walls like they hated him. His jumps were off, his flips unbalanced. And the worst part, the whistle followed him. He heard it while walking past a school bus. He heard it while eating in the diner with MJ. He heard it in his dreams. Sometimes it was distant. Other times, it was right behind him. In the Daily Bugle bullpen, things were tense. Robbie Robertson watched Peter move through the room, like a man with a ghost behind him, eyes darting, shoulders tense, always listening. Betty Brant caught it too. He's different, she whispered. Robbie nodded. haunted. They both looked at the photos Peter had just submitted. Blurry, uncentered, off-tone, a far cry from his usual precision. Spider-Man clinging to a wall, silhouetted in fog. Something behind, him in shadow. It wasn't visible, not clearly, but it was there. That night, Peter visited Dr. Kurt Connors. He didn't say something's wrong. He said, "I need you to look at a wound." Connors lifted Peter's shirt and examined the jagged line across his shoulder. He furrowed his brow. "It's like your body's rejecting it, almost as if it's unnatural." "Can't be the lizard again, right?" Peter joked flatly. Connors didn't smile. "Have you fought anyone new recently?" Peter hesitated. "It's not human." Connors blinked. "Peter, I think death is following me." A silence. Connors leaned back in his chair. "You mean metaphorically, right?" Peter didn't answer. Back home, he found MJ in the kitchen. Candles lit. Music playing softly. Ella Fitzgerald on. Vinyl. She smiled when he walked in, but it faded when she saw his face. "Is it happening again?" He looked at her, eyes hollow. "Worse." "What is it?" "I think something's trying to end me. Not kill. End." She approached him slowly. "Then we fight it. Like always." "This isn't Sandman. This isn't Venom. It's not some guy in a suit or a monster in a lab coat." His voice trembled. "I hear him when I breathe." MJ took his hand. "Then breathe with me." He held her close that night, but he didn't sleep. And then the next attack came. Peter was swinging across Midtown, heading toward a hostage situation in a bank. No warning, no crime, just cold air, a pulse in his chest, and the whistle. He landed on a rooftop and froze. Then it came. The wind changed direction. He turned. Death stood in the center of the rooftop. No scythe in hand this time, just standing, watching. Peter's knees buckled. His spider sense blared like a siren. "What do you want?" Peter asked. Death tilted his head. "You were given power. You were given love. You were given more chances than most ever dream of, and yet you take it all for granted." Peter clenched his fists. "You don't know me." "I know your heart, Peter Parker, and I know how little you value the time you've been given." Death took a step forward. Peter's body instinctively stepped back. "You think you deserve to suffer, and I find that insulting." "To who?" "To life." Peter tried to move. His muscles wouldn't respond. "You're not a demon. You're not a man. What are you?" Death stepped into the light. His cloak fluttered in slow motion, revealing armored hands, a chest plate adorned with dozens of symbols, names carved in languages Peter couldn't read. "I am inevitable. I am not cruel. I am balance." "Then why me?" Death smiled, fangs barely visible beneath his snout. "Because you've forgotten what it means to be alive, and that is worse than dying." He struck. The blade came close, too close. Peter ducked, rolled, fired webs, but they passed through. Smoke. Death disappeared, reappeared. Peter ran. He didn't fight. He ran. He swung across the skyline like a wounded animal, dodging illusions, claws, steel. And in his ears, the whistle kept coming. Peter collapsed into an alley 2 burrows away, gasping for air. A boy peeked around the corner, 10, maybe 11, Spidey shirt, wide eyes. "Spider-Man?" Peter looked up. Blood dripped from his lip. "Are you okay?" Peter forced a smile. "Yeah, buddy, just tired." The boy knelt beside him, handed him a crumpled napkin from his pocket. "You helped my mom once." Peter took it, wiped the blood away. "I think you're the bravest guy I ever saw." Peter didn't answer, but he cried. That night, he went to Aunt May's again. He didn't say anything, just knocked, and collapsed into her arms. I hear him, May. He's following me, and I don't know how to stop it. She brushed his hair back like he was 5 years old again. Maybe it's not about stopping him. Maybe it's about remembering what you're still here for. Peter gripped her hand, and somewhere outside, the wind changed. The sun was setting over New York, but Peter barely noticed. He stood at the edge of a rooftop, overlooking the Queensboro Bridge, costume torn beneath a jacket, bandaged shoulders still, aching. The city bustled below like it always had. Nothing had stopped, nothing ever did, but something inside him had changed. For the first time in months, he didn't feel empty. He felt angry, not at the city, not at himself, at death. He didn't know where the fire had come from. Maybe from the boy in the alley. Maybe from Aunt May's arms. Maybe from MJ, still waiting, still hoping. Maybe it was the voice in his head, the one that sounded like Uncle Ben. With great power, he whispered the rest under his breath. It comes great responsibility, and he finally meant it again. Peter returned to the apartment that night and found MJ sitting at the table sketching. A rehearsal script sat open beside her. She didn't look up right away. When she did, she saw something different. He was smiling. "You're back," she said softly. "Yeah," Peter replied. "I think I am." He knelt beside her chair. "I've been afraid to live, because I thought I didn't deserve it, because I thought the people I failed were gone because of me." "They're not," MJ whispered. "No," Peter said, "but I am still here, and I've been wasting every second of it." He stood, pulled open the closet, and reached for something. A case, dusty, unopened in weeks. He cracked it open. Inside, a new suit, not flashy, not complicated, clean black webbing, deep navy blue beneath, sleek red emblem across the chest, made not for vengeance, not for penance, made for him. That night, the city saw him again. Spider-Man swung through the air, not just moving, but dancing. He flipped over bridges, dove between buildings, laughed when he landed on a cab and scared the driver. He wanted to be seen, to be alive, and from the shadows, Death watched. They met again atop St. Mary's Cathedral, in the heart of the city. Rain poured down in sheets. Lightning cracked the sky. Death stood still, the wind curling around his cloak. Peter landed opposite him. No fear, no tremble, just purpose. "I know why you're here," Peter said. "Do you? You're not here to kill me. Not really. You came because I gave up. You wasted your gift. And I almost kept wasting it." Peter stepped closer, but not anymore. Death didn't move. "So you've decided to fight?" "No," Peter said. "I've decided to live." Death bared his teeth. The whistle returned, sharper this time. The shadows around them trembled. Then he attacked. The final battle was a blur of movement and shadow. Death struck like lightning, impossibly fast. His blades scraped stone, tore through steel, cut the sky itself. But Peter kept moving. He webbed a bell to redirect Death's scythe. He rolled through stained glass, letting light hit him. He leapt from gargoyle to gargoyle, using rhythm and instinct, not rage. Death finally landed a brutal blow, crashing Peter into a rooftop cross. Peter gasped, body broken. Death approached. "Still think you deserve to walk away?" Peter grinned through bloodied teeth. "I don't deserve anything." He stood. "But I choose it anyway." He hit Death with a Venom shock-charged punch, not from hate, but from memory. Harry's smile, MJ's eyes, Aunt May's voice, Ben's lesson. The scythe shattered on impact. Death staggered back, rain stopped, wind died. Everything was still. Peter didn't raise his fists. He didn't chase him. He just looked him in the eyes. I'm not running anymore. I'm not wasting this life. If you come for me again, that's fine. He stepped forward. But you're not taking me today. Death stared. Then he laughed, soft, amused. For the first time, he looked tired. Good. He turned, walked to the edge, paused. You're not ready yet, but one day, he raised a clawed hand to the sky. I'll see you again. And with a final whistle, gentler this time, he vanished. Peter dances with MJ on the rooftop under string lights. Aunt May opens her window to see Peter sweeping her stoop in full costume, mask pulled back, smiling. Robbie sits in his office. A photo of Spider-Man lands on his desk. Not in battle, just swinging, free, happy. He smiles. Peter stands on the Empire State Building as the city pulses below him. Lights blinking. People. Living. He breathes in the wind. I don't know how long I've got, he says quietly, but I'm gonna use it. And he dives. Not to escape, but to fly. Now that is going to be it for What If Death was the main villain in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4. Now, what would you think of this? Like, what do you think would have happened if Death from Puss in Boots was in a Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4 storyline? Like, do you think this could happen? I think Death as a character is so unique, and I really love how Mike S. was able to not only help me co-write this epic video, but also he was just giving me a ton of pointers that really helped pave the path of this multiverse storyline. And I think Death as a character is absolutely a villain who I think could be a great Spider-Man villain. I think the emotional stakes are just so high, and it would be such a cool crossover video, and I'm so glad that we were able to make such a unique crossover. So again, big shout out to Mike S. He is a watcher of the multiverse. And again, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. But that being said, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, I will see you in the next episode. Take care and have a wonderful day. Peace out.